Feels a very good welcome to church intro.
It's nice.
It feels very, it's like, let's, whatever's been happening in your day, just calm down, fill the pews, hear the good word of science. But give it, hey girl, hey Leslie, but given the moments of the day, that was all the calm you're gonna get. There's a lot of yelling to do. It's just to warn Steve, because people are calling me the queen over here. And for anyone who doesn't know the joke from over on Twitter, so I accidentally declared myself the queen of the Seychelles.
Well,
These things happen sometimes, like accidental monarchy, whatever. So I was joking about the fact that since Trump, in order to become president, like was having Texas sue Pennsylvania to get rid of their votes. I'm like, oh, that's how you become president. So I'm gonna sue Montana so I can become queen of the Seychelles, because that makes just as much sense. And so I put it in my Twitter bio, and it's become a thing. So look, but my theory is I have exactly the same amount of power as every other modern monarch, which is zero. So I'm a hands-off monarch. I'm just sitting here going, good job, Seychelles. Just keep doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So there's my claim to the non-existent throne of Seychelles.
I'm sure you'll be an enlightened despot.
It's, I will. I just occasionally, I just want a free hotel room over there once in a while when I need to escape here. That's all. I'm
not going to rule with an iron fist or anything.
No, I'll rule with a feather duster. I just want to tickle them occasionally. Like, hey, good job, guys. Don't be nice to each other. I'm gonna stay over here though. So that sounds good. So, anyways, guys, this is my friend Steve Shives. You may know him from the YouTubes. How would you describe your general brand? Steve.
Bearded white guy who talks about Star Trek.
Oh yeah, so how would you distinguish your Brando bearded white guy who's talking? So I could have found like 16 other ones of you.
I need more detail.
You're kind of in my orbit. You're known as SJWE, which is way up my alley.
Yes, I established quite a few years ago that I don't have a problem with feminism. And that turned some people off, surprisingly. I know.
There were people early on who, on my personal profile, I posted something that was barely pro-feministy, like the slightest, like I wasn't all that into the feminist movement early on in my cybabing. I posted something that was just, hey, a man did an objectively bad thing. And I don't know if you might know him or know of him, Jeff Holiday.
Oh yeah.
He went off on me, like, I can't believe you're a rad he just and like befriended me and could not talk enough trash about me everywhere on the internet, because apparently I was a crazy feminist for the mildest thing. It was just, I was like, oh, I did not, like, as I barely paid attention to him before, and then I was like, every time I saw him post, it was like, there's something a little askew with Mr. Holiday.
Thank God the internet's not like that anymore, huh?
Yeah, it's gotten so
much better now.
Yeah, we all get along. People take their time and understand nuance and listen to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are good now. Everything's solved.
Exactly.
Kumbaya, Steve, kumbaya. Anyways.
I mean, we could sing Pete Seeger songs if you wanted. I know a few.
Yeah, I got my guitar over. I was just saying we do perform on here once in a while. We had a little Christmas caroling show. It got better views than my normal shows do.
So, well, everybody loves Christmas carols.
Yeah, and I live with a bunch of professional musicians. So that made my singing sound way better.
Wow.
So, it's that worked out quite well.
Yeah. I'm bearded white guy who talks about Star Trek. I also talk about politics.
Yeah.
And so I'm an atheist, although I don't talk about that as much as I used to. That's sort of how I started. And then I got to a point after 5 or 6 years where I was like, it was sort of, well, maybe long, maybe 7 or 8 years, but where it's like, I feel like I've said pretty much all that I have to say about this. And B, a lot of the other atheists aren't real nice. Like, they're not really people I don't want to hang out with or don't want to be associated with, especially on YouTube.
YouTube atheism is like and I mean, I don't want to name names, but fuck the amazing atheist for not being all that amazing. Like,
No,
but
what's
here's the thing,
what
he's not amazing, and he also doesn't really talk about atheism anymore.
not it kind of, it's a bit of a misnomer if you think
Like
about it.
a lot
Yeah.
of these, like here's the thing. At one point, a lot of the guys who kind of were in YouTube atheist space, they did great work. They did a lot of content that was informative and thoughtful, and did synthesize new thoughts. And then they got off on a fucking kick about something. They're like,
Yeah.
I need to let you know I'm angry about one thing. And then instead of being like, oh, this isn't a thing that most of my audience wants to hear about, they decided to go down that rabbit hole, find that
Yeah.
niche audience that there was for that. And it turned into this whole ecosystem of suck. And it's like, hey, you know that you used to be useful to the greater world, but like, they're still
Yeah.
making money from this little
Well,
niche ecosystem.
I think part
So
of that is not I mean, I think a lot of it is that they were just garbage people all along, and that was just revealed over time. But the
yeah.
reason that it wasn't as obvious at first was, and I was guilty of this as well. I might say maybe a little too self-flatteringly to a lesser extent. Um, but we went after low-hanging fruit. We went after creationists and stuff that was like that. If you knew even a little bit about the relevant science, you was obviously wrong. I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
Earth isn't 10,000 years old. We humans aren't the product of a special creation. Like there's things that just are obviously wrong from a
Yeah.
scientific point of view. And when you can articulate those arguments fairly well, you can sound a lot smarter than you are. And I was an English major in college, so I know all about sounding smarter than you actually are. That's what we do. That's our gig. That's what English majors are all about.
I have a friend who
Um,
has a BA in English, and she's now a casting director for porn.
oh boy, that's
It's
well. So at least she's using her degree.
It's her husband's a porn star, and I met her at the AVNs, and she and her husband, they're fantastic. She's like, yeah, whenever she's casting or helping direct a thing that her husband's in, she'll like show because a girl's always a little nervous about this. She'll
Yeah.
show a girl specifically how to please her husband. So that's what she's doing with her BA in English. I'm just saying the field is wide open.
Yeah, there are so many things you can do with that degree.
See, it's communication.
It's absolutely. That's it. That's what it's all about.
I just
So yeah, I
completely
think that was
derailed that.
but I know, but I think that was a lot of it is that, someone who might be a huge asshole can seem like not as much of an asshole if they're focusing
Yeah,
on let's disprove and debunk these obviously wrong things. And there
yeah.
is value in that. I mean,
Oh
because,
yeah,
I mean, somebody could watch a YouTube video and if they don't know anything and the first thing they see is like answers in Genesis saying like, oh, actually, there are all kinds of problems with the theory of
oh
evolution. Like
yeah,
it can help to have someone point that out and say,
yeah.
actually, here's the fallacy in that. But that doesn't make you necessarily all that smart
Yeah, you're like,
overall.
oh yeah, it's like there are a lot of people who can tell you, oh, you've used this logical fallacy, this is wrong because these are the facts. But like the people who end up like kind of doing this for a living are people who found a way to explain it that connects with a lot of people, and like that's rare. But like at the end of the day, you only have so many ways, and I found this from being a debunker, a debunker, a
A debunker,
debunker, a debunker. I didn't smoke any pot
a
before
public
this
speaker.
show. I are a professional public speaker too. It's a good thing I get away with some things because of my charm. God damn it. I found that from being a debunker for a certain number of years, there is only so much you can debunk I can only tell people, much like you can only tell people there's no God for so amount of time, I can only tell people detoxes are bullshit so many times before I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there have been like I mean, I know there are going to be a lot of new detoxes that come out over the years, but it's always like they're always the same. They're always the same
Mhm.
marketing tactics. And like I wanted my job to make myself obsolete eventually. I want people to just take what I've taught them and go, "Oh, the last 15 detoxes were bullshit for the exact same reasons. Of course this one they're still got the same questions." And it's like, I'm just, you know what? That's why I'm just writing about science stories and trying to keep up with the news on
Yeah,
science now instead. And it's
yeah.
like debunking. It's the same thing as telling people there's no God. Like it's the same set of tools every time.
I
And like,
used to
mm,
I used to do a series. I did a series for a really long time where I would respond to Christian apologetics books.
Oh, geez.
And I would read the
How did you not go crazy?
well, the thing yeah, right? Who says I didn't?
This is
Um,
how you are now
this is
afterward.
exactly. Um, and, like, it was good for me in a way because it helped to shape my attitude toward religious people and toward our arguments about religious topics, and it helped me sort of realize that I'm not as interested in picking fights with people over religious beliefs if they're not being harmful to people, but if
Yeah,
they're trying to push like pseudoscience or trying to use their faith to justify mistreating people, then it's on. Like you can't do that.
yeah,
But so I don't even remember off the top of my head how many books I did, but eventually it got to the point where someone in the chat said Groundhog Day. It was like I swear to God, I've read this book before. Like it's exactly the same shit over and at first it
yeah,
was fun. It was like, how can I make the same argument but make it sound different? It was like a
yeah.
challenge, but then eventually that wore
Yeah.
off too. And I'm just like, I'm just tired of doing this. Like, I
You
just
know,
don't want to do this anymore.
it's funny. I wrote a book that ended up not getting published, and like I'm looking back through it now because I'm writing this daily column, and I'm like, what material can I take out of it and maybe use for this column? And like, it's all debunky, and I'm reading through some parts of it, and like some parts of the way the chapters are laid out, I'm like, oh my God, this is so same thing over and over again in each chapter. I'm like, I would have like there are some things that I'm
Yeah.
like, this could be published, but if I restructure it, but holy shit, every time you debunk something, there's a rhythm like it's just blah, 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 blah. I
Yeah.
have to go through these sets of words so it's like these whether it's saying someone was lying about religion, whether it's just it gets you get to a point where you kind of burn. Hold on a second. Psy Mom has entered the chat.
Ooh.
It's Psy Mom is Janice Dontroma over there. It's just if I don't say Psy Mom has entered the chat, there's outcry. The peasants will revolt.
There's a
They'll come.
revolt.
There will be an armed insurrection inside chat. It's just I cannot like not honoring your mama is the cardinal sin of side chat here. We honor and love our good parents. Just say if your parents a shithead,
Yeah.
they're out. But my
Don't
mama's a
worry
good
about it.
mama,
Yeah.
so we honor and love our mama here. Who's my mommy? I believe yesterday, my mom got her first her Pfizer her shot yesterday. I'm
Oh,
so
great. Great.
I cried a tear or two of relief
Yeah.
when she sent me the text with the picture of it because I'm like, yes, in 2 weeks she'll be partially covered. But like that's been one of my big fears is mom will get sick because she's
Yeah.
69, nice, and like it's that's just old enough to like she's in perfectly good health. Like the only thing that's wrong with her is she gets her left knee hurts occasionally. I'm like I have 17 things wrong with me. My mom is perfectly fine. But yeah, but I'm, just because of her age, I want to put her in a bubble. But now she's got the vaccine, and I'm so happy. Anyways,
Yeah.
so
Now she's impervious. Well, not,
yeah,
but
she'll
get on the road
yeah,
to impervious.
exactly, and she'll have her next one within 3 weeks. So very soon, my mom will be safe and protected. So I'm very happy. So, anyways, back to debunkification. So here's one thing from the news that I wanted to discuss that was
Oh yeah.
kind of interesting. There was this one just came out today. So I'm just going to pick up an article from the Washington Post to chat about this. If I was any better at transmitting things to Restream, you would see the article up here. But the title of the article is "Vaccine Reserve Was Exhausted When Trump Administration Vowed to Release It,
Yeah.
Dashing Hopes of Expanded Access." Now, I read through the article, and here's what's really unclear about it is how much of a holdup this is going to be, because it seems like they released, like basically they're like, here you go, and they released everything. There was less of a reserve than they thought, but part of the reason why Alex Azar said that he was releasing it, and of course this is the Trump administration, so who the fuck knows what's real and what's not. Part of the reason why, my mom got the Moderna vaccine and it's 4 weeks out. Sorry, thank you for correcting me, Mama. I'll take correction from anyone, even my mom, of course.
That's great.
But it's what you do. When you're a good debunker, you say I'm sorry. You thank you for the correct. And anyways. But so what's unclear about this, because they're basically saying we opted to release these because it seemed like production was up high enough that we could move these out and give group of people their first shot, and production was up that the second shots would be coming out in a correct amount of time. But there are reports from different states that they're getting these shots before they've requested them. There are reports that the second shots aren't showing up on time for some states. So, as with everything with the Trump administration,
Yeah,
that's
it's a shit
term.
show. It's a shit show.
It's just we don't know.
Yeah.
So just because we don't know what's happening this, especially if you've gotten your first shot, please call your doctor's office and see what's happening with the second one. Make sure that you've got yours reserved, that there's figure out where you can get your second one, because like it'll probably keep you imbued with partial immunity, but please, you got to go and get your second one to make sure you're safe. If you're someone who's in line for it, just keep an eye on what's happening in your state. But it seems like people like me and Steve, who are young and healthy and at least somewhat healthy-ish, like it just means that this is going to take us until like it used to look like it was going to be like May, April for us. It's probably going to be later than that. So
probably well into the summer, I would guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is like I am so happy that there are vaccines. I am so happy that vaccines are being distributed. I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
I'd say it's a miracle, but it's better than a miracle. It's science.
It's actually real. It's actually happening. But like, I'm still just, I'm annoyed that we were unable to get our shit together.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago. Can you believe it's been almost a year since we're still having to live like this, to put up with this.
It's been in the US for a year now.
Yeah, officially, I think. The first case was diagnosed almost a year ago.
Yeah. The first woman who died it's been around a year since the first person who died. Like I want to say they definitely caught it within the last year in the US, but Jesus, it's and it was around March 15th. So 2 months from now, we have been locked down for 10 months now. Rick Ray just asked your thoughts on the Newsweek article and Stanford study. If somebody could elucidate what that is, I would love to give my thoughts on it, but I haven't seen it yet. And you guys know me, I try not to give out thoughts on things I haven't read yet, but I don't know if I've read this one.
It's a good policy, generally speaking.
You get yourself in trouble that way. I've done it recently. Let's see, scrolling through. Somebody over on YouTube asked, does Cybabe read the comments in here? And the fact that I just read that answers your question. Clearly, I'm not reading your comments. Person who just asked if I read your comments. So you can't see it, but this is all sent out via Restream, and I can see there's this one chat stream this all feeds into. It's the mother stream. Somebody just commented, this is definitely a 2.5-year pandemic, and this reminds me of a meme that I saw at the beginning of it, and it was like, somebody comes back from the future and says, comes back to 2020 and says, oh, this is year one of lockdown, and the next frame is someone saying year one. What do you mean year one?
Exactly.
There's another, how many years is, like, I don't know how far this is gonna go, but it's rough.
Well, and it's one of the most reliable jokes that, like, it's almost every version of this joke makes me laugh. And I think the most recent version I saw of it was in when Cody Johnston did the Some More News movie, and it was
I haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, and there's three Codys in it. There's present day Cody, there's Cody from 5 years ago, and then there's Cody from the future. And Cody from the future has white hair and is obviously supposed to be like a really old man, and it turns out he's from like 2 years from now. And that always makes me laugh. It's always the same joke. It's like, so what are you from?
Wait, when do you find out that he's from 2 years from now? How long?
It's pretty far into it.
Okay, and I feel like that's
it's dropped as just like, because he says, how far into the future are you from, or something like that. He's like, 2022. I mean, it's like, but it's but it always works. It always makes me laugh.
It's somebody just asked, what's everyone binge watching through lockdown? So you've been some more. I've been binging the Surfs lately. That's been my husband and I have been down with a ton of the Surfs, which I like. Look, I didn't expect to accidentally slide into just downing anarchist and communist YouTube, but you know what? It's look, this way I don't get like I want the news and I don't want to see headlines saying watch Don Lemon destroy. I don't want to watch my news people like look, I want commentary that's going to amuse me and that doesn't come with the headline saying watch someone destroy a thing. Like that's not news, that's commentary.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
ah,
And
don't
there may be catharsis in it, but
yeah.
you know, well, the other thing is, it's like we've been. I mean, poor Don Lemon has been going off for 4 years, and it's like just give the guy
Yeah.
a break. You know,
But
Jake Tapper and Anderson, all those CNN people have been just losing it for 4 years. It's like just give them a break, okay?
Like, do they need a hug or something? Like, I
Yeah,
know social distancing is in, but somebody put on a bodysuit and give them a hug, okay? Like, they seem to like a Klonopin, anything.
yeah,
Like the other
something.
thing is, like, could someone like I don't like I don't know. At the end of my news, I don't want to lecture. Like, I just want to be told what happened during the day. Like,
Yeah,
this is part of the reason why like I watch PBS and like oddly like the main news networks, like not CNN, but like ABC, CBS, are my and PBS and BBC are my main sources of news because I don't feel like they get editorialized anywhere near as much.
they're a lot better, yeah, as far
Yeah,
as that goes.
it's
Then yeah, I agree. And also PBS are I've as far as what I've been binge watching. I haven't. I watched the first season of the live action Titans series because I'm like a
oh
superhero nerd, and
nice,
it's not good. But I'm gonna watch the second season because I'm determined. I'm committed now. But
nice,
I haven't started that yet. But I watch like I've been watching PBS documentaries. Like if I have some time in the evening and I'm not working and it's a little while before bed, you know, I'll watch like an episode of American Experience that I haven't seen or something. Like I think like 2 years ago they did a 3-part documentary about the moon landings, and
oh
I watched all of those because I'm a huge space nerd. I have a NASA hat on, for Christ's sake.
nice,
I'm a a space nerd and a human space flight nerd. So, and that was cool.
nice.
And in the new series of the Right Stuff that National Geographic Channel did,
Oh
because the Right Stuff the movie is like one of my all time
yeah,
favorite movies, and they did like a new like a series of it.
yeah,
And it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. You know, so
nice.
yeah.
My binging has been a lot of like because I'm my hardest part about writing the daily column now is finding the thing I want to write about. So
Mhm.
like and it's just sometimes I'll find it through googling things, sometimes like so now my thing is just watching an F load of YouTube videos on science and science history and like like I love Simon Whistler's like all of his channels like Today I Found Out and biographics and whatnot. And hidden somewhere in there will always be like a random bit of science. Like there'll be a throwaway line that ends up being like, oh, there's like a giant 20 page story that I have to write that I can condense down to like my one thing. Like there was a throwaway line about I'm going to screw up the name, but like but a slave who taught everyone in Boston how to vaccinate. I think something like 70 years before Edward
Yeah.
Jenner noticed that milkmaids didn't develop smallpox, and the most of Boston was like, we're not going to vaccinate because it was an African guy and that's black magic, and so they chose death over vaccines. So that's fun. So that was, I heard them like kind of give that one line about he tried to teach them how to vaccinate and they turned it down because they didn't trust him. And I'm like, that's a story. Choose it. But like, so I end up at least listening into like a zillion videos like that a day.
Yeah.
So because
Well,
eventually the subject.
you told I just had to Google it to make sure I got his name right, but you told me about the slave who
Oh
developed the
yeah,
vaccine. And my
I cannot pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce his name
well,
correctly.
I'm thinking of somebody else because what the first thing I thought of when you told me that story was the Sherpa who was actually
Oh,
the first person to reach the summit of Mount Everest.
oh
Everybody remembers Edmund Hillary, but it was
yeah,
actually Edmund Hillary's Nepalese Sherpa who was the first person to reach the summit,
yeah.
and his name was Tenzing Norgay. And we remember his name a little bit more now, but I mean,
Uh,
for the last century, it's like, oh, Edmund Hillary, first guy to climb Mount Everest. No, second guy to climb Mount Everest. His Sherpa went up first, and he was the first person to
oh
reach
my
the top. But I
God.
guess he just doesn't count.
No. Wow. That's just like the Sherpa went up, checked, just like, it's fine. We can do this.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
you can come up now. You can do the one that'll count.
It's like this just
It's
oh,
fine.
that's painful to think about. Like did you see the John Oliver episode on climbing Everest?
I think I did. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
there's a last week tonight on how
yeah,
basically there are now like tours where people who are completely
yeah,
untrained just go right up. And I mean
yeah.
some may die, but
And if you
it's
die on the slope of Everest, you're pretty much just going to stay there.
you know what? You're a checkpoint now.
Yeah,
People will
exactly.
take selfies next to your corpse.
Yeah,
And some of them may die doing it, becoming a new check. Oh, this is grim.
yeah.
Look, it's we got to take a break talking about death from COVID with the break to talk about death from something
Death
slightly
from mountain
more.
climbing. It's not,
Yeah,
you're probably not going to die from a mountain. So you
exactly.
know,
I mean, because you have to choose to go to that mountain. They're not
exactly.
bringing that mountain to Muhammad. You have to. Muhammad has to. You have to seek out. There's a flight and like some several days of walking and
Yeah.
packing things. You gotta seek that out by like going
Nobody's
several.
dragging you up the side of Mount Everest going, "Come on, let's go."
I mean,
You
it
know,
could happen, but it'd be
I
very
get
strange. Someone said death by stupidity. Look, I gotta say, I never whenever I hear someone's death from an extreme sport and someone says it's a tragedy, I'm sitting there going, no, it was he cheated death, or he or she they cheated death for a long time,
right.
and eventually death was like, this time this
Yeah.
time.
You've
Like
gotten away with this long enough.
it's like it is sad. It is very,
Yeah.
very sad that there is family that misses this. But like when I hear someone who like does extreme ski, snowboard, like just jump mountain climbing without a like, yeah, of course gravity took its wrath out on you.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
you were doing something unnatural, sir. So this is
I
just
I I am capable of feeling sympathy for people who die, like, doing like an extreme sport or doing a
oh yeah,
stunt or
I
something,
I
even if
feel
it's
sympathy.
yeah.
Just
But
it's not a
people
it's a yeah.
people who die in wild animal attacks.
It's the
It depends on the
yeah, of
circumstances,
course.
but usually the ones that go viral, the ones that we learn about, it was someone who was doing something they shouldn't have been doing in the first place,
Yep.
and, "Oh, look what happened. They got eaten by the bear or the tiger or the mountain lion or whatever," and I'm sorry, I don't care if it makes me a shitty person. I laugh my ass off
It's
when I read those stories.
it's
I
when
think,
it's someone who thought they could wrestle the bear, it's like,
like,
"Oh,
"What
dude,
did you think was going to happen?"
probably
I
not
mean
that."
I mean,
I
there's a video, it was a viral video a few years ago, and it's one of my favorites because I can enjoy it without feeling quite as much guilt because I don't think the guy in it died. He just got beat the
oof.
hell up. But there was a guy, it was a
Oh,
video of a
man.
guy, and he I guess he was a hunter, and he had sprayed himself with doe scent to attract
Oh.
a deer, and this huge deer comes out of the woods, like thinking he's about to get some because he smelled a doe, and it turned out to be this hunter. The deer pushes him down and starts like stomping him in the nuts with like the deer hoof, and it's just a deer, a huge buck going like boom boom boom, and this guy is like, ah. And my favorite part of it is his buddy is filming this whole thing with his camcorder, is not helping him at all, is staying a
Oh,
safe distance away and recording it.
his buddy is like, "Look, I got some of that scent on me too, and I wanna have kids." Like,
Yeah,
his
I'm
his
not.
buddy is not fucking with that for a
You're on
reason.
your own, bud. But yeah,
Like,
I love it so much because you don't have the guilt of, "Oh, and a human life was lost."
it's
But you get to see, like, "You
it's
idiot. What did you think was gonna happen? I'm glad it happened to you. You
oh,
deserved it."
man. Like, it's if you're gonna fuck with nature and your plan is, "I'm gonna kill a deer with this," you gotta kill it on the first shot, dude.
You gotta kill the deer, man. You gotta
It's
be ready. Yeah,
it's otherwise, it's coming for your balls. I did
yeah,
I did
exactly.
I did not know that about
Well, and
oh,
I mean, I love the movie Grizzly Man. I mean, Grizzly Man is not, I don't find Grizzly Man funny. Like, Grizzly Man is a well-made enough film that you do kind of feel some sympathy for the guy at the
yeah.
center of Grizzly Man. But even that, it's like, I mean, and even, Werner Herzog, the filmmaker, acknowledges like he what like because the guy who is the subject of Grizzly Man, I'm not spoiling anything, gets eaten by a bear, and the portrait of him is sympathetic, but up to a point, because it's like what did you think was going to happen, man? Like, they're bears, they're not your friends. Eventually one of them was going to eat you, and that's what
Yeah, they're
happens.
It's they're like, have you seen a bear when they're hungry? They don't seem to want to. They don't want to chat. Like there are people who there are creatures and humans who, when they seem mad at you, they don't want to chat. Bears, Nazis.
No.
I'm just saying. Just
Don't
saying.
talk to
There,
them.
we're not at the chat point with when the bear is rampaging at you. We're at the this is going to lead to death, and we got to do something about it. So just, I didn't mean to segue into Nazis right now, but
But it's appropriate because,
it's right here, and
this
it's like
is going to lead to death. We need to do something about this.
yeah. So you and I, I was on your show earlier this week, and so
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna drag you onto my dog and pony show now. So and of course it was funny before we went on your show. You're like, well, since stuff happened, I guess we don't have to decide what to talk about.
Right.
So it's been an interesting week of fallout.
Yeah.
It's like it seems that everyone's kind of come to the conclusion that we all knew all along, that this was planned.
Hmm.
What?
And because the people who did it left behind detailed plans on
Oh
the
my
internet.
God. It's so the news from the Parlor hack, or not the Parlor hack, but the fact that Parlor was like, it's, I guess, hacked, like as they were trying to take Parlor
Yeah.
offline. What was her screen name? The girl's screen name, it's Donk MB. Donk underscore NB just yanked everything off of Parlor as it was going offline, and they saved so much data. They say just video upon video upon video, and of course, because they all had XGIF data, every single one has location tracking. Like, it's just, these motherfuckers recorded and transmitted to the entire world proof of, like, not just that they were inside the White House. And some people are like, well, they just went it. No. Like, there's evidence. There's one video that I saw, like, because each video is worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
Like, I saw one video of them bear spraying cops.
Yeah.
Like, these are the Blue Lives Matter people.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like that was just a slogan to counter the black.
It's almost like they don't really have core beliefs. They're just driven by their prejudices and their impulses. And
there's this amazing video from Innuendo Studios about it's kind of on Gamergate as a whole, but the thing is kind of on the this character Angry Jack, and like this kind of and it's like, it's my audience, go check out all of Innuendo Studios stuff, but like this whole long thing is kind of examining why is this guy so angry. And it's like there's a lot that feeds into it, but like I look at these guys and they're all that angry guy who you want to sit down and like get into the brain and be like, what happened here? How are you so angry about nothing?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it was, and I think Innuendo Studios covers this a little bit in that series, like, because of, it's the downside to one of the best parts of the internet, which is the internet can theoretically give people a voice that wouldn't have had one without it. And that's a really good thing. Yeah. But that can also have a dark side. And, I often think, like, when I'm 40, when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, there were there were still, there were the Alex Joneses and, the sort of extremist voices back then, just as there are now. But you had to subscribe to their newsletter, or find their self-published book at a truck stop on a spinner rack, or be within range of like a radio station that played their show. Like, there wasn't this kind of mass syndication through the internet where anybody could potentially reach a massive audience and create a space where like-minded people, and people who maybe didn't start out as like-minded but can get persuaded, could come together and sort of have their own group. And so people who are angry about things, like who feel like maybe they feel persecuted as a white person or as a man or as a Christian or whatever, they can find a place to go where, instead of saying, actually, you're wrong about a few things, you're looking at things from a skewed perspective, and that's not actually the way it works. They have people saying, yeah, you're totally right. You're totally justified in being pissed off, man. You should be pissed off. And here's who you should be pissed at. Those people right over there, like it allows it to grow and to sort of metastasize in a way that it still happened back in the day when I was a kid, but it was a lot more difficult for it to happen on such a large scale.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
it was harder to make your own echo chamber once upon a time. Like, and I don't mean like the tiny little, but like it was once upon a time like you had, yeah, like you had your friends and neighbors and you had like people local to you, and it was very hard to segregate yourself off into thought echo chambers away from everyone else.
Mhm.
Now you can find the craziest belief you have, you can throw it into a Google search and find millions of results telling you, of course you're right,
Yeah,
instantly, and find forums of people that were looking for exactly that thing, that as soon as they found other people that believed it, they're like, of course I was right. It doesn't matter how true another piece of information is that counters it. They're like, but I found something that said I was right, that confirms my most crazy, most absolutely wrong piece of information. They'll find something that tells somebody making $100,000 a year, that who's a straight white man who's 6'2", that he's the one who's being oppressed. I'm just
yeah.
seeing this shit.
Yeah, because
So,
confirmation bias is incredibly seductive. Like we all fall victim to it to
oh yeah,
varying degrees. I mean,
oh
and if
definitely,
yeah, and i- if you are sort of conditioned to not guard against it,
oh
which a
yeah,
lot of these people, that's the situation, and not to take any responsibility off their shoulders at all, but if you find yourself in a space where you've been told over and over again, like, oh no, you're 100% right, and you're not prejudiced and you're not biased, you're seeing things exactly as they are. I mean, what are you supposed to think?
and
You
the
know?
other thing is they tell people like in the cult of Trump and the QAnons and all this good stuff, like they tell people the people that are telling them no, here are the facts, that we're pedophiles, and that
Yeah.
we're in a cabal, and that like it's very hard to get into, like, to try to get into the mind of someone who has this kind of cult like thinking,
Mhm.
because they have been trained to so firmly reject anything that's counter to it, because anyone who's giving them this information is basically like telling a Scientologist we're suppressive people. It's a
Yeah.
cult at this point.
And it's for the real diehards, it's absolutely impenetrable. I mean, like for and
Like,
it's like conspiracy theorists, I think are really committed conspiracy theorists are pretty much all like this, but with QAnon,
yeah,
because, it's
it's
like it's so specifically
yeah,
anti-government and anti-progressive people and leftist people, and it has sort of this hurricane of racism and xenophobia and
yeah,
everything sort of swirling together. Like every time one of their predictions doesn't come true, they just rationalize it and move on
yeah.
to the next thing.
It's
Like
and it
they've been
doesn't matter.
wrong about everything so far, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
make a difference.
It's like I threw it onto Twitter and I kept retweeting it for a number of days. And of course, no one ever responded with an affirmative, with a good answer. I'm like, just waiting. Could someone tell me, just point to a specific on when the police have, as a result of the work of QAnon members, uh, arrested en masse some pedophiles? Just point it. I'm looking. Please show
Mhm.
me. No one, not
Yeah,
a
no,
single, hasn't happened. And like, look, I would love if through some collective action, through some fucking sleuthing around the internet, through somehow these people were like, oh yeah, we actually did some good, but they did not. They have not done a
no,
thing that's helped law enforcement help save children. They hijacked a hashtag that was being used by a legitimate charity to
yeah,
try to, and here's why it works. One of the, like, how do you tell people no, I don't agree with you, when what they're saying is we're trying to save children from trafficking?
right,
that that's
exactly.
that sucked a ton of people who probably wouldn't have otherwise given them the QAnon. You're crazy, but they're like, no, 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 they're a pedophile. There's this huge problem that you've never heard about. For some reason, no one's talking about the hundreds of thousands of children who were taken this year, and that's a huge misrepresentation of the statistics, because most of those disappearances are solved within a day or two, and
Mhm.
they're one of the kids' parents taking them
Right,
from the other parent. It's a custody issue. Like, and I'm not saying that's fine. That's obviously
but it's
bad that
not
that
what,
happens
yeah,
at all. But it's not like when they're portraying it as child trafficking. I think people think the worst case scenario, and I don't want to get into describing that. So you guys know what people think when they're trying to imply those, hundreds of thousands of
trafficking,
cases are all
yeah,
traffic, like
yeah,
not a parent keeping the kid for an extra day, or taking it's, yeah, this is,
yeah,
it's a bizarre misrepresentation that's been used to get people down this insane rabbit hole. And what's crazy is what a high percentage of Americans have right now kind of fallen into cult-like thinking, and they other than you get into a chat with them about the flower bed or your dog or whatever, and they might seem perfectly fine, but they are harboring some insane beliefs right now.
Yeah. That's one of I mean, I really hope that we keep this in mind going forward. Not in a way, because I'm not someone, I realize it's not as easy for everybody to just say, "Well, I'm just gonna shun those people and I'm not gonna have contact with them." I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about in many cases, like people that are close friends, that are family members, that are
Yeah.
coworkers, that you don't have the option to
Yeah.
just cut them out of
Like
your life.
I only have a few people left in my life who are Trump supporters, because like at
Yeah,
this point it's become so toxic. Like it's that, and it's I don't have any family left who's a hardcore Trumper, but like it's my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, her sister has turned into a Trumper, and like they're not speaking right now.
yeah,
Like that's gotta sting. I don't even know what that like. I'm very glad that my brother is a very hardcore leftist.
yeah.
That's been easy, but man, like that I don't even know what that must. Then again, no, my father's a hardcore right winger, but like the reason I don't like him isn't his politics; it's because he's a dick, and that far, that far outweighed the politics. But like,
Yeah,
it's I've lost friends over this. Like seeing them go
yeah.
from just Republicans into finding whatever way they can use whataboutism to defend kids in cages has been really disappointing. Like it's hard to watch.
Yeah. I've had similar experiences. I mean, I don't have, and I haven't had for a long time, like, really close friends
Mhm.
or people in my life that are, like, ardently right wing. I know that, like, my dad is more conservative than I am, but, I mean, that's not really saying a whole lot. But, but we don't talk about politics that much,
Yeah.
it's just, and he's not like a hardcore, like, outspoken Trump supporting, he's sort of a generic kind of, he leans to the right, and he sort of just assumes that the more right-wing side is the more reasonable side, and I couldn't disagree with him more on that, but it's not like a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people, yeah, I think it's hopefully it's a wake-up call for a lot of us. Just not, even if you can't necessarily do anything about it, even if it's not like, well, like, I'll just cut him out of my life, I won't have anything to do with him. It's just nice to know who everybody is,
Yeah. Like
and
knowing that
yeah,
knowing that even if they don't support everything he says, it's like this is not enough for you to say, maybe I'll vote for the guy that I don't agree with for 4 years over the
yeah,
guy who's like this is not someone who would willingly foment a mob that
mhm,
they had legitimate intelligence was planning to kill Mike Pence. And look,
yeah,
I have definitely said some things about Mike Pence that I would characterize them as unkind. Unkind. But it was something I've decided I'm not telling any more guillotine jokes ever.
yeah, yeah,
After that mob, like I've just they're off the table for me. Like, and it's like I will, be fine if any of them through their own stupidity kills themselves from COVID. But like
yeah.
that's still fine. But like no, seeing that they were storming the Capitol, willing like beating a cop to death with the American flag, and I'm very sad that it turns out I did not tase
The
himself to death
taser
for
thing,
that.
yeah.
I was so you know what, he tased himself to death via the nuts in my heart. Okay, like
It's still real to me,
in
damn
my
it.
heart, it's true. But that turned out to be, guys, it turned out to be a myth. Somebody did not tase himself to death via the
You
balls, which,
know,
man, like that
that's
just
what
fits
you
so that
that's
fits
what you
so
get for
well.
believing in things, you know?
Let me
You
let
put
me
yourself out there.
let me believe. I believe he tased himself in the balls. I just I just want that to have been true. But
I
man,
know,
no,
me too.
there was, but yeah, like there were so many uh yeah, things that happened in that made me go, I can't even joke about, about I want them out, but them screaming hang Mike Pence, them
Yeah,
setting up even if it was, I don't know if it was a joke or not, but them setting up that noose. Are you
yeah,
kidding me? There
no,
was a cop that was being crushed at one point that they're like,
yeah.
fine, it's
I
fine
mean,
with them, like
it's a lot like
yourself too much.
it's a lot like that quote, I think it's from Mark Twain, who said, "I've never wished anyone dead, but I've read many an obituary with pleasure." And
Yeah.
that's kinda like, if Mike Pence fell off a cliff tomorrow, I would not shed a single tear. I would think, oh, good, fuck him. But
Yeah.
do I want a mob to drag him
No.
out of his office? No, I don't.
No,
I don't
not
think
at
that's
all.
good for anybody. I don't think
No.
that is not. We have elections, so we don't have to do that shit.
And we had that election and they
We
lost.
had one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the like, we did all the work to get them out. And here's the thing, they're being the mob that's doing the yeah. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah, it's yeah.
yeah, I just decided, I don't know, seeing the mob made me go, these
Nope.
jokes are I'm never doing these jokes again. These are not okay. This
Yeah.
was terrible. Like it's there have been interviews with AOC where she like days pardon me, like she seems very shaken, and it's like she's talking about, yeah, we almost died in there. And like the more videos I've seen from it, like the more terrifying it is. Like videos of them breaking some windows, like that's scary enough, but like there are videos of them in like in certain hallways. There are videos of cops trying to beat them back, and the cops are so clearly overrun with like there
Yeah.
are not enough of them. They're not well enough armed or protected. Like the video of them being I can post it at some point. I'll put it into the Discord server. By the way, guys, if you're not on the Discord server, link is on it's pinned to the top of SciBabe, or the Facebook page on SciBabe. But yeah, I'll link to some of the YouTube videos that they've yanked off Parlor because they've left everything on Parlor, and these idiots put all the proof of everything they did, all their crimes, all their fucking crimes are on
Yeah.
Parlor. Oh my God, dumbest criminals ever. And
They're
it's
the worst.
the one time in American history, in modern American history, where everyone's like, hey, you should be wearing a mask. And none of them wore masks.
They're not wearing masks.
Oh
Well,
my
we talked about this when you were on my show on Monday. I mean, it's like I agree with the Parlor thing is delicious and I love it. And I think about FBI agents poring over all that information and it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
It's
It's
yeah.
beautiful.
I
But
want to
they
respond to this one thing
yeah,
really
go ahead.
quickly. I don't know if the cops were showing restraint, or if it's just in some cases. I think the cops knew because they were so outnumbered, and these people were a violent mob, that if they started hitting, they would be killed almost instantly. And I think in other cases, some of the cops were in on it as intelligence is starting to show, because
Yeah.
there were ex-cops, there were current cops, there was ex-military, there was current military, there were elected state reps in those mobs.
Yeah.
So I think some of the cops, like there was one that instead of hitting the crowd, like as they were going up the stairs, led them away from the Congress. And that was heroic, because if he just started beating, all hell could have broken loose. But he did something terrifying that worked. But yeah, it's like, I don't know if restraint is quite the right word, but I think it's an interesting way that it worked out. But it's like, it's mainly because they were not well enough supplied. So that was
Yeah,
all.
no, apparently
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. Sorry. Carry on.
Well, no, like some of these guys, they were giving themselves up. I mean, on the day, it's not just that they left behind like a trail of breadcrumbs that anybody could have followed. I mean, there were, I don't remember. I think we mentioned this on Monday, but the Reddit post that somebody posted saying, okay, just, President Trump can issue a blanket pardon for
Oh
everybody
my
who was
God.
there. But if you want to pardon, you have to reply to this thread and state your name and where you're from and any pardonable crimes you think you may have committed. And people were like, thousands of people responded to it. And I'm just like, oh God,
Man.
like
I've seen so many things like this. There was a girl who decided on I think it was on one of the dating apps. I've been so out of dating apps for so long. What's this shit? It's the one all the kids are using. But she put that she was a conservative on a dating app. And basically, like now she's only getting messages from guys from MAGA guys. And so like she's talking to them, and they were all sending sending her videos and telling her where they were at the riots, and she's sending it straight to the FBI.
yes.
So like, my God. You crime. Someone said Bumble was the app. Just guys, you crimed. You crimed, and you. But why? What are you doing? Oh my God!
It does give me a good feeling to be reminded of how gullible they are.
Oh,
Like, and not just incompetent, because they're incompetent, but also they're so gullible. They're so credulous.
it's
And when they find out, and I think a lot of this is performative, but I think some of it is genuine. When, like, well, speaking of like the dating app thing, I saw there was
yeah,
somebody sharing a screen cap of a guy who he connected with someone through a dating app, and they seemed like they had stuff in common, and they were kind of hitting it off.
yeah.
And then she asked him if he had voted for Trump, and he said yes, and
Mm.
she's gone. And he was like, "Is this what this country is coming
Oh,
to?
I think I
That
saw
we
that.
can't even see past our political disagreements?" And I'm just like, "Oh, this is
And he
so
goes
fucking
into a
delicious."
whole like rant.
Yeah, like, this is
So
so fucking delicious.
it's
I mean,
like,
like, if I was in if I was in her situation, no matter, and it was like a girl that I thought was really awesome, and then I was really looking forward to seeing her, and then it turned out she was a Trumper, the pleasure I would get from telling her to fuck off would far outweigh any good time
pain.
I was
Yeah.
expecting to have. Yeah, any disappointment in not getting to go out. I would be like, "Oh, this is gonna feel so good to say, I don't wanna see you, and it's because you voted for Trump. That I want you to know that's the reason."
It's like, and here's what I don't get with his like with the going off on the girl afterwards. Like, if he was like, I feel like if you are a Trumper and you're the type of person who's like, this is what the like, why wouldn't you go? I don't want to spend my time on the person who has this point of view
Yeah.
that like they don't even want to talk to me with a different point of view. Why wouldn't you just block and delete and move on? Like,
Yeah.
there's something deeply broken if you're like, I need to tell her why she's wrong. Maybe then she'll fuck me, or she'll feel bad about not fucking me.
Exactly.
This was good, Trump supporting dick, I tell you.
It's like, brother, there ain't no dick in the world that good. Like,
No, no,
I hate to burst your bubble. That's
it's
not gonna do it for you.
uh-uh.
Not
Uh-uh.
anymore. I mean,
It's nope, nope, nope,
yeah.
nope. Like, there are some places that it's like, and I have exes who I know voted for Trump, but I'm like, there's a reason those guys are exes for sure.
Yeah. Dodged a bullet there.
Whew, for many reasons too, but why? Why, man? Like, and I mean, like, I just, there are people who I understand why they support Trump, and it's basically because they're racist, shithead, backwoods assholes. But
Exactly.
like I don't get why some of my smarter friends, because I do have smarter friends who support him, and I just go like, what did you fall for? What did you like?
Yeah.
What if I taught college for a year? One of my former students has turned like full on buys into all the conspiracy theories Trumper, and I get it. The reason why is that propaganda works.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
And
just the painful part of it.
there are, I mean, there are versions of those arguments that do have a veneer of intellectualism that if you don't dig any deeper, like, they could see, and you don't understand the underlying issues, that, they seem plausible. Like Republicans, and garden variety Republicans, and like some of the far right fanatics who have gotten good at marketing themselves. I mean, they can talk a good game.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
they have a pretty good patter, and if you aren't prepared for it, or you're not educated on the issues, I mean, I can understand a lot of ignorant
Yeah.
people falling for it. You
Yeah,
know,
it's easy to like look, if you don't know what a smart man sounds like, Ben Shapiro might sound smart.
yeah,
That's unfortunately he's just saying a lot of words really fast. And according to what he said about his wife, it seems like it's the only thing he's good at doing with his
yeah,
mouth. Ben
yeah.
Shapiro
Oh,
joke.
Ben,
Sorry.
the
Just
the more he tells on himself, the happier I get. I'm just like, "Tell
oh
us more, Ben.
God,
Tell us
Ben,
more
just
about how
uh,
shitty your sex life is with your wife,
just
and you
God.
don't even know you're doing it. You've
It's
done it multiple times now, and you
uh
still don't know that you're doing it."
yeah, just I just want to hear more about her zip tie collection.
Oh my
She
fucking
it's
god.
God, the guy who got that burn in, just like,
Yes.
well
There's a
done.
big difference, Ben, between taking zip ties to the Capitol and the zip ties your wife uses to
Just
tie you to a chair.
so you can watch her having sex with other
Oh
men.
my
Just
god. Oh, yeah.
I just like I owe that guy a joint, a hug, a kitten, my firstborn, something like. But that was, oh, that was good. That was really good. Just anytime, like, look, when Ben Shapiro is trending, you know it's either because someone got a dunk in on him because
Mhm.
he said something offensive, or because he got a dunk in on himself, which is just
Yes.
The best.
it's like that, you know, there's another one that it has been floating around for years of the guy who was like, you know, I don't even believe in the female orgasm. No woman I've ever dated has had one. And it's just like,
Oh.
you don't, yeah, you know, and it's like, and it's Ben Shapiro is that guy, but he just keeps doing it.
Like I went off one day. It's like Ben Shapiro arguing with a woman when she says she didn't have an orgasm. Are you sure you didn't? Are you sure the orgasm's actually real? I'm sure if every woman I've ever been with before said it was fine. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your orgasm. Like I just feel like that would be him if
Yeah.
a woman ever suggested she didn't have a good time in bed. So like maybe she just she's just been telling him, "Oh yeah, honey, dry ass pussy is totally normal.
It's
Those
completely
women are
normal.
the broken ones." And he's
My
like, "Yeah,
medical
see, my wife
opinion.
totally agrees with me." Yeah, sure, Ben. Dripping wet pussy is the worst.
It sucks.
I've
Oh,
hated it.
everybody
I've
Ben,
hated it.
everybody hates it.
I've hated
Everybody hates it.
every time I've made a woman just. It's been awful.
It's gross.
Awful.
It's
Awful.
gross. Nobody likes it.
Worst. No
You're
woman likes to.
no, you're better off, Ben. You're better
No.
off without it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just stick with your dry ass pussy. Yeah, just the lube aisle is a lie.
You don't
Lube
need
is a
that.
lie.
Yeah.
It's not going to make her feel better at
Don't
all.
don't don't play into the hands of big lube.
I think that worked on a couple levels, actually. I was really
Hey,
happy
I
with
didn't
that.
even think about that though.
Well
Damn.
done. Well,
Thank
well
shit.
done.
Hey, you know,
I
sometimes it just works
gotta,
out.
gotta clap that one out.
Sometimes it just works out.
Yep.
Especially if you use enough lube.
Which Ben Shapiro is not.
Which
And
Ben is not doing, apparently.
Oh man, like it's just there. Like I hope. Like here's the thing: with the amount of times he's been just taken down because he's not the sad thing is he actually is smart. It's just the way he presents his grift is fucking stupid. Like every single thing is let me rapid fire a ton of questions I don't actually want the answers to. I just want to sound smart by asking a lot of questions, rapid fire, and then like the audience goes, "Oh, those were brilliant," and it's like, wait, if you want me to answer any of those questions, I can, but which one do you want me to answer first?
Right.
I can sit here and destroy all of them. Just give me 5 minutes.
Exactly.
But like asking a bunch of questions fast, it comes across as smart if you let the audience think that the person you were talking to can't answer them. And it's like that's not a debate. That's just a guy who's talking fast. Like have you ever heard, oh wait, you must have because you watched you've seen the surfs occasionally. Have you seen it when they slow him down to like a kind of normal speed? He sounds drunk. And there was one day where they sped Trump up to a kind of normal speed. And I'm like, oh, Trump doesn't sound drunk now. Like it was I'm like, oh, Trump is almost listen toable at this speed. Like he sounds like a normal politician when he's sped up.
It turns out all they need is just a good acting coach.
It's
to say, you know, just try it at half the pace, Ben. Just try it at half the pace. You'll be all right.
Yeah, but then his whole shtick of talking too fast for anyone to argue with him would just be dead. So, man, poor Ben Shapiro. But yeah, so back to what's good. The fall, like I figure we're about at the hour mark. I figure we should wrap up in the next 15 minutes or so. Let's so give or take. Let's because now it's the portion of the show where I stutter. It happens once in a while. Let's quickly just wrap up the discussion of the of what's happening after in the shadow of the insurrection, because there's right now a lot of people are getting arrested, which is fun. I think there are people that like. Here's the thing: if you succeed at insurrecting, arrests don't happen, but I think they were sure that they were going to succeed. Like it's not a if at first you don't succeed, try again thing with insurrection.
No.
It's if at first you don't succeed, your ass goes to prison.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think they figured that out before they did it. I also think they thought they were going to win.
Yeah, which is kind of cute. Maybe if you can divorce yourself from how awful they are, it's like there's the naivete of that is like, oh, you thought really?
It's like that they had the military, right?
You thought Congress would just leave and not come back?
Well,
they would just let you have it.
What's worrying is that obviously it was planned publicly. They knew for months. The FBI had a memo out about it. What's worrisome is how easy it was for Trump and for the machinery to slow the National Guard from going
Yeah.
to help with the situation. So it's like, I believe one of the congresswomen said that she'd seen as she called it, a reconnaissance mission the day before through the Capitol of people like, and they hadn't been giving tours for a while because of COVID.
Because of COVID,
there were people being given a tour through the Capitol and like in areas they normally don't. And she had reported it the day before too, not knowing what was about to happen. And it appeared to be some people who were at the riots who were being given, a tour for tactical purposes. No big deal. So, I mean, and we also have, of course, this guy, Ali Alexander, who said, I planned it with these three congressmen, these three who have been, very big. We got to overthrow the vote, guys, since the beginning. So, as much as this has all been terrifying, a lot of these guys are already in jail and are going to keep going.
Yeah.
So, my one question is, do you think that any of, because like it says, I believe 14th Amendment, that if you have participated in an attempt to overthrow the government of the United States, you cannot hold elected office. Do you think that they're going to be able to get rid of all the guys that are like, yeah, we're gonna vote to overthrow the vote?
I mean, here's the thing. I hope so. I think they should. I have learned not to set my heart. And look, I'm a registered Democrat. I'm proud to be a member of the Democratic Party. I vote Democrat.
Same.
I have learned not to expect bold, decisive action from Democrats, especially at like the national level. I've gotten used to, if they do something, well, good for them. You know what I mean? And there's a lot. I mean, like I love my congressmen. Both of my senators are Democrats. I think they're great, but they're not. You know what to expect and you know what not to expect. So I don't know. Pelosi has been talking a pretty good game. I would love to see that followed through. I would love it if they find evidence that members of Congress were actively involved in it and they can prove it. And I would love to see people expelled. I would love for that to happen.
I would love to see Lauren Boebert and her gun gone.
My God. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, there's so many of these QAnon dipshits that got in, Marjorie
Taylor Greene wearing a mask that said censored while she was speaking on national television and on the floor of the U.S. Congress. Like, does she understand what censored means?
I heard on Twitter the best nickname for her that I've ever heard, and it made me so happy because like my friend Dana, who I co-hosted a stream with tonight right before we did this. She lives in Georgia, and unfortunately her member of Congress is now Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh no.
And she's
my God.
not too happy about it. But also one of Dana's favorite books is Anne of Green Gables, which is why it gave me a particular delight to see Marjorie Taylor Greene described on Twitter today as Clan of Green Gables.
Oh my God.
So I mean,
that's amazing. That's horrifying. I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Clan of Green Gables.
Can I call her that in some tweets now? I got to throw that down.
You got to.
Yeah. I mean, just saying. So just a reminder, y'all, ways you can support the channel here is via throwing down some stars on the Facebooks. I appreciate those of you who've been doing that. One-time donations at PayPal, or of course Patreon, where we're starting next month. We're going to be doing some brainstorming sessions for the daily Moment of Science, and of course there's a monthly Patreon. There's a monthly Patreon stream for patrons only, where there's a reason I brought it up, where I occasionally allegedly prank call senators and congressmen at your choosing. So if y'all want me to prank call a seditionist, I'm on it. Last month, we definitely made some phone calls to Marco Rubio, Joni Ernst, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. Some of them had full mailboxes, but everyone who did not have a full mailbox, they know how I feel. I definitely did leave one message as Melania Trump.
So did you just leave? Did you just repeat a message that Michelle Obama had left someone before?
It's next time I should do that. I think that's you're just giving me ideas now. You got to be in on the calls next time. But yeah, so if you want to support the channel, if you want to be in on these wacky things, it's $1 a month is all it takes to keep a derelict science communicator off the street. And there are going to be more treats starting next month with that to come along with the Daily Moment of Science. So please come. And also, there's my Amazon wish list down there in the description. And if you just want to send me, candy or a guitar, whatever, there's a big range in there, but
candy, guitars,
or a guitar. Look, if there's the guitar is for my roommate. Get my roommate a guitar. You should do, anyways. But yeah, like there's all sorts of ways you can support the channel. Steve, where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on the YouTubes, and you can go to youtube.com/Steve Shives to see all the videos I make, some of which I actually put some effort into, which is always nice. And I'm on Twitter at Steve_Shives, and I'm on Facebook. You can just search for me, and yeah, I'm around. And patreon.com/Steve Shives if you want to give me some money. I mean, that'd be nice.
Should give him some money.
I could use some money.
We all could use some money.
We could all use some money.
It's apparently here's we're gonna wrap it up on one last question after we've given out all our info. Just whetted the appetite. So I've seen Joe Biden's come out with his plan to stimulate the economy, and he's like, we're gonna finish up the $2,000 with the other 1,400, and it's like, hey Joe, could you just give us $2,000?
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Like I just I had such high hopes, and could always count on a Democrat to almost.
I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. Like, I'm glad that he's doing something. I wish it was more. I don't want to be. I want to push him to do more without being negative, so I don't want to like complain and get bitter and be like, he promised us 2,000. God damn it. Like I would rather it was just straight up 2,000. I would rather it was more than a one-time payment.
Yeah. We'll see.
But we'll do this first, and then we'll push for more is hopefully what's going to happen.
Indeed. It's I want universal basic income, but I'm not going to get. Anyways, we do have a request for. I did warn you about the screen licks. We have it's on 3. 1, 2, 3. There you guys. We got a dual screen lick today.
Yes, stereo lick.
Good time. It's been we're going all in. So we're gonna call it a day, partially because my back is sore and I really want to go lie down. I know normally I do a slightly longer stream today, but yeah, I'm falling apart. Somebody get me a wheelchair. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Steve.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It was great.
And I hope you guys go check out his channel, his Twitter, and his YouTube, and of course his Patreon. Come join me on Patreon. Go buy me some candy. Anyways, I love you guys, and I will see you on Sunday, of course. Bye.